Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
What do you think a person from the 1930s would think of our American society today? Besides being overwhelmed by our technology, I think they'd get the impression that we're wasteful. We waste our time scrolling on the internet or watching TV. We waste our money on things that we could easily do without. We waste our food. The list goes on and on. Jesus didn't waste anything. Everything He did had a purpose. We see this especially after feeding of the 5,000, when He instructed His disciples to gather up the fragments that remain so that nothing is lost. Everyone had eaten their fill, but they had plenty of leftovers. And remember, Jesus had allowed the disciples to participate in this miracle by passing out the food. They knew how much they'd started with, 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, a boy's lunch. They'd seen that multiply as people took as much as they wanted. And do you remember how much leftovers they gathered? 12 baskets full. In case this hasn't connected yet, how many disciples were there? 12. So that means each one collected a basketful. We don't know how big the baskets were, but that's not what matters. However big each of their baskets were, they each had a full basket of leftovers. Assuming they'd eaten when the people did, these 12 baskets of leftovers would feed them for at least one more meal, if not several, over the next few days. And as they ate it, they could remember the miracle and what God had done through them. Jesus instructing the disciples to collect the leftovers shows good stewardship. It teaches us not to waste what God has given us. He's given us talents that we should use for Him. He's given us time that should be spent working for Him. He's given us people in our lives we should cherish. He's given us health to be able to work for Him and serve others. He's given us money we should use for His work in the world. None of this should be wasted. With all the resources God provided us, we should seek His kingdom first in our lives. How are you using the resources God has given you to further His kingdom? What is He telling you today that you've been wasting that you could use for Him? The stewardship of the things God has given us goes farther than just time, talents, and money. In this story, I think Jesus instructs His disciples to gather the leftovers for one other reason. He doesn't want to waste a lesson. All the experiences He gives us, whatever circumstances He allows in our lives, both joyful and difficult, He allows for a reason. We can learn from them. But if we get through something and just shake it off and say, "Whew, I'm glad that's over with," without reflecting on what God wants us to learn from it, well, that was just a wasted experience. In instructing the disciples to gather the leftovers, Jesus gives them time to reflect on what has just happened, picking up the proof of the miracle, substantial evidence that He was their provider. Anything they needed, He could give them in abundance. He had compassion. He cared about all these people, but also them personally. And He was sovereign over every detail, down to the 12 full baskets of leftovers. Have you been a good steward of your experiences? Perhaps now would be a good time to list different experiences in your life and what you've learned about God, others, and yourself through those experiences. I'd love to hear about it.
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.